Hey coin collectors, and welcome to another Big D DC joint. This is DC from DC Coin World doing a joint video with Big D coins, and we're going to play a little game here, and that is, can you identify the mint mark from these 1979 quarters? All right, D or a P? What do you think? D, definitely, right? That's a D shaped kind of. How about this one? D or a P? Probably a D, just a bit of a drop there. D or a P, I'd say this is an S, but of course these aren't S's because S's were only proof coins. D or a P, this one, God, I'd almost go for more of a P on that one, but hard telling. We'll set that one aside. D or a P, definitely a D, no question. D or a P, D. D or a P, definitely a D. D or a P, this is another one that looks like a S or some kind of drop. And D or a P, that is a D, I'd say. All right, so we look through all of these, and now here's the game part and the trick part, and that is that in 1979, there was no P's on the quarters. And so if it's blank, it's a 1979 Philadelphia. If it has anything on it, whether it's this, or this, or this, or this, or this, or this, or this, it is a D. The Denver Mint did their mint marks in 1979, and they were just horrific. Some of them got worse over time, but some of them just weren't very good. And so when we look at the mint marks, whenever we see a blank, we know in 79 it's a Philly. Whenever we see a D, we know it is a Denver Mint coin. So in 1979, it was still, and we'll tip them up and show you, they were still copper nickel clad copper. They changed those first in 1975, and you can get a 79 in a silver version, but we don't have one of those here. And you can also get 79 in an uncirculated D, in an uncirculated P, and those look like they're a D and a P. The D isn't great, but it's still, you can tell the difference. When we look to the back of these coins, of course, we're talking about the eagle on the back. United States of America, e pluribus unum. It says $quarter coin. It says $quarter at the bottom of the coin. And this one, if you look at it, you can see that you don't have much definition here. So this one right here is worth $0.25, and no more, and no less than that, even though it is quite old. So how many did they make? Well, at the Denver Mint in 1979, they made 489, almost 490 million. At the Philadelphia Mint in 1979, they made 515. So they made $1 billion between the two. So you're saying, well, okay, if you made almost $500 million of these Ds, obviously you're going to get some bad ones, but the ones I showed you, every single one of them was a bad one. Now, these are circulating coins, I know that, but still. So what does that mean for the value of these coins? Well, it does mean that if you get it in MS65 or above, you're starting to talk some money. An MS65 for the 79 Philly or the 79 Denver is going to be somewhere between $7 and $10, which is interesting because if you look at the 79S, the San Francisco version one, the non-silver San Francisco version, it's only worth $2.50. So if you can get a good one of these, it's going to be worth more than a proof version of the 1979S, which is, there are two different types. So if you're looking for the 1979S proof version, there is a Type 1 and a Type 2. The Type 1 is worth $2.50. The Type 2 is worth $4. What is the difference? The difference is the blob mint mark. If you have a blob S, it's worth $2.50 in the U.S. Coin Digest. If you have a good S that you can actually read, it's worth $4 in the U.S. Coin Digest. So it wasn't just the D's. The S's were also a little blobby. And look through some of your pennies too. So the S's for that year. Look through some of the Susan B. Anthony's. We showed that in one of our videos. Those are all blob S's. So in 1979, there were blob D's, there were blob S's, but there were no P's for Philadelphia in 1979. Can you get some expensive versions of these coins? Sure, you can get, if you got a really, really good one, you can get into the thousands on one of these, but it would have to be totally uncirculated, essentially. It would have to be MS67 or above. So that's not what we have here, and we don't have much value here, but we'll keep these, and just because it just is fun looking at those mint marks every once in a while and seeing that they just are all the same. Every time you get a D, see if you can, from 1979, see if you can read the D. All right, that's all we have from Big D Coin Channel and DC Coin World in our latest joint. This is DC saying we'd love to have you subscribe to our channels and leave any comments you might have in the comments section.